My little dance. We are live. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Joanna. Hi, Alicia.
Yay.
Hi, Joanna. Hi, Kelly.
Yay.
I'm so excited that we're here to chat, you guys. We're going to this is like a new thing. So, this is a new thing that we're starting. We're going to see how it works out this month, um, faith and art, coffee connection. And we just say coffee connection because we're having our cup of coffee in the afternoon because the three of us like our coffee in the afternoon. At least I think. Well, Joanna, you're not drinking coffee too much anymore, right?
I actually I'm drinking decaf, but I drink
Oh,
it
okay.
once in a while. I try not to drink
So,
too much, but yeah.
well, whether it's coffee or tea. Of course, I'm going to be drinking a lot of this once the weather starts getting colder up here in Connecticut. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so basically we're just here just to chat. We're going to chat for a few minutes, 20, 30 minutes or whatever, give or take. And anyone who actually jumps on live with us, you guys are welcome to ask us any questions whatsoever related to faith and art. We did want to talk about a little something that we were actually, which is so interesting how God just like coordinates everything. But we all three of us like had a subject that we've been talking about this week that just all relates to each other. So we figured we would definitely chat about that. But anyone who is on with us, you guys are welcome to put in the comments any questions that you have at all. If you want to join us, or the next time that we get together, we can definitely do that, and we'll just I'll send you a link, to this particular program, which is StreamYard, and then you guys can actually jump on with us. But this is just basically just some free time to just get together and just fellowship with one another. It's unfortunately a lot of us, especially like the three of us, we're like all over the country. So
Yeah.
Joanna's in Texas, Alicia's in North Dakota, so I'm in Connecticut. But that's the lovely thing about technology is we get to spend some time with each other, even if we are in different places all over the world. And that's what I love about it. So, but anyhow, I know there's a few people on. If you guys are on, say hello, and so that we know that you are here. And again, ask any questions that you guys have. But Alicia, you had like something that you wanted to actually share a little bit about um, in regards to Jehovah Jireh. And then Joanna also was sharing something last night because Joanna goes on usually after midnight, right? Joanna, you usually go on.
Yeah, about 1 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah, after midnight, Joanna actually goes on and shares a message or a devotion or just anything really, just to kind of encourage and inspire others that might be on in the middle of the night as well with everyone. So, and she happened to be sharing something that was related to what Alicia and I were talking about too. So, which would be perfect because then she can talk about that too. Hi, Viv. Viv is on. So yeah. So Alicia, what was it that we were talking about actually?
I don't remember.
That's awesome.
No, but I could tell you, lots of stories about how God has provided for me. I mean, all through my whole life, but I mean, even up until recently. So it's always nice to have those like fresh stories, like God just did this for me, just just the
And
other
that
day.
was what we were talking about because
Yeah.
I that's exactly what it was. We were
Oh,
talking about
yeah.
provision, and then you happened to mention, something about again bringing up Jehovah Jireh and a couple of scriptures that you mentioned, and we were talking about that and how He provides and He protects, and so yeah, yeah, definitely share.
So, well, I recently had I had a friend who I hadn't talked to for years, actually. She texted me and she said, Alicia, I've had this vision and I want you to draw it. And it surprised me because, it's funny because people ask me that sometimes and it's like, well, I don't know what you've seen, so I don't know how I'm going to draw it. But I did. But I just decided this time that I said, well, I could ask the Holy Spirit what you saw and if he would help me draw it. And she described the vision to me and I got a picture in my head and I started drawing it and it turned out to be very close to what she saw. And so it was really, it was just really amazing. And it was amazing too that an old friend would call me up and ask me to draw something for her. And then she wanted to pay me. And so it was just a really neat like touch from God. Like here's, God says, he doesn't have money per se, but he gives us opportunities where we can create something of value, a blessing to somebody, and then they want to pay us for it. And that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I love that you said that too, that he creates opportunities, because that kind of spoke to me when we were talking about that, because that's something that I think that we could all like learn from, instead of, because a lot of us tend to ask for certain things, right? And instead of asking for certain things, is asking for an opportunity. And in a lot of ways, like for me, I want an opportunity to also be able to minister to someone,
Right.
And so asking for opportunities is so widespread. It could mean so many different things, right? Not necessarily just a specific request, but an opportunity could be tons of things. So that's a great way to approach it. I love it.
Yeah, I heard a pastor not too long ago say that that he used to be a waitress when in college, and he asked the Lord one day just to use him. And he was like, okay, I get it now, because all these things started happening to work on with you. It was like, okay, and so like God will make, you just tell him I'm here, and he will, he will provide opportunities,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And then, I mean, the reason why we were talking about it too is, and this is a safe place for us to talk about stuff like this. So, I know for me, I always wear my heart on my sleeve anyway, and I'm pretty transparent with certain things, but especially my morning messages. But like, I'm not working right now, so. And then usually in the wintertime, my husband, his hours are cut in the wintertime too, because it's seasonal. And so like we're already starting to like stress out a little bit, what's the winter going to look like for us? And that's what I was talking to Alicia about. I was like, yeah, I was, and then she reminded me of that, and just asking for opportunities, and opportunities will show up. And here's the thing. Why is it that we always like worry about these things? Like, I know that the Lord's going to provide. Because he always does. He always comes through when I least expect it. But then I always end up still worrying about stuff like that, right? Why is that?
Right. I think because it's easier. I mean, it's easier to rely on what we can see, because it's right before us. You can see it with our eyes. But, Jesus asked us to live by faith and not by what we see. So that's the challenge. That's the hard part.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Very true.
How do you get past that, Joanna?
For me, I think just seeing him, how he's worked through my whole life, like he's provided in ways like my parents couldn't afford to provide for me in college for anything. I was kind of on my own. And so like
Me too.
Just seeing him, a $20 bill would stretch a whole week, that I had for food. I mean, it was amazing how he would provide, extra, and how he would just provide different things. So like just seeing him, even when I didn't really know him as well, you know what I mean? Like he was there providing for me when nobody else was, I think that has helped me, and, to get kind of not past it, but easier at times for me to say, okay, I remember when you provided for me here when I needed somebody. You were my father, you provided for me, and I know that you're going to provide me here where I am right now.
Yeah.
And it's just, and it's always like, what I love about him is that every step that we take is just building our faith more and more in him, and in his provision, and his, and that's what he's been showing me the last year and a half, is just, he is a provider. He, with our move and everything that we went through, it was just amazing the way he moved through that. And I could see him moving, even when somebody else would just say it was a coincidence or whatever, because people can always chalk things up to coincidence. But when you know him and you know how he works, and you see him in just the little times that he's done it, or even in the past, he reminds you of that. I was here too, and I'm going to be here now. I'm not going to leave you, I'm going to provide. So like just seeing him build up our faith in him in those moments, I think is what continues to hold me, remind me that he's there to provide,
Yeah, for sure. So that kind of what you just shared actually reminds me again of what you shared last night. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that?
No, not at all. I read, if I can get it up now, Psalms 121, and it's a God protects us along. It's a song. It's the second Psalms in the Psalms of Ascent when the Jews go up to the temple. The 15 steps, and it's the second step. And what I loved about it is that they sing these psalms at each step. And so like the first one was about slander, and they couldn't understand whether, some commentaries were like it was either about a nation or a person. You can either do either or whatever, what they were going through. And then the next one was and how God showed up in that. And then the next one is the song of the stairway, and it's God protect us. And because all of them journeyed from where they lived to the temple, it was a long journey, and it wasn't an easy journey either. It's like, you're walking through the sun. They went by caravan, they went in big groups. I mean, I was just
I love what you talked about with Star Wars.
And it was funny because I was trying to remember, and it was the Samaritan I was thinking of before, but last night with my headache, the Star Wars thing kind of came out. And it was about, like the part where Luke meets Obi-Wan, like that desert rocky kind of area, kind of what Jerusalem was like, and that's what popped up in my head last night. And how, those sand people, whatever, were hiding, there was always dangers, in their journey, and so it was demanding because they're walking in the sun, it's also treacherous, because they could slip, fall. There's dangers hiding in the rocks, and so it was just awesome, like to see how they were reminding themselves how God has protected them up until this point, and then I also read another commentary that said that it was also, they think that it's also one of the songs they sang on the way home, because it was talking about protection and all, and reminding them that he was the one that protects them. I liked where in number verse 3 that says, "He will guard and guide me, never letting me stumble or fall. He is my keeper. He will never forget nor ignore me. He will never slumber nor sleep." And one of the things that I was reading is that back in the ancient times, people actually, the pagan gods, they thought that the pagan gods actually slept during winter. Like they slept, they were in hibernation, or that they even died kind of in the winter. Like they weren't even around, And one of the things that it was saying is that this is saying our God never sleeps. Our God is always there. He's always there. He never, in other words, he never takes time away from us, because he's always there to protect us and be there with us. And I thought that was really interesting because in the time, there's so many other pagan gods and so many other things going on at that time that he was making a point to address that, in the song.
Yeah, that was the verse that spoke to me this morning.
Yeah. Sure. It is awesome. And then like, when you think about it, there's other songs where it talks about how our souls don't sleep, our eyes may sleep, our body may sleep, but our souls are always awake, and I never really thought about that until not too long ago. And it's true. And I think that's why sometimes we have trouble sleeping or trouble because we're always in a battle, there is spiritual battles too, and that's what it reminded me of too. It's also physical, but it's also spiritual. So,
yeah, I never thought about it that way. So like we're really, our souls are really just resting at the moment.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah.
Wow.
Huh.
Yes.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been thinking, it's just crazy. Like, God's been speaking to me a lot. I think just about the nighttime, because so many people with the last year and a half, there's just so much anxiety, so much, stress, so much just that people, and in the nighttime when you're not moving or you're not doing your daily things, you're not keeping occupied, that's when things hit you the most, and I've heard over and over people saying, I can't sleep at night. I can't, and And so, yeah, that God just wants to reassure us, all the time that he never slumbers at night or day. He's there morning, noon, and night. And it's amazing. It amazes me how much he cares about us, that he's always there. Yeah.
So true. So there you go, Alicia. That's what you missed.
Aw.
No,
I'm
there
gonna
was a
go
lot
back and
more.
watch now.
There
Yeah.
was a lot more to it. Joanna
Yeah,
like
sounds
went deep
really
into
good.
history and everything, which was kind of cool. So
I love going back into the origins of the verses, and just kind of what history was like when the time they were written, or that kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah. You get so much more context and more meaning. There's more layers of meaning. Just like you said, you looked it up and you found that maybe they sang this song on the way home too, and
Mhm.
the different things that get highlighted. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just imagining being in their place, like
Yeah.
walking for a long distance. Yeah.
Yeah.
like Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, now every time I read something in the Bible, I'm gonna like picture that.
We need a Star Wars version of
Yeah.
Who's gonna do it?
It's funny because the emojis have like I was really surprised that the emojis have like a Star Wars thing and theme. So I clicked on it and I wanted to like share it with you in your group in your on your page, but it wouldn't let me. So that's why I shared it with you afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I immediately thought of like a whole, what is that thing called? The lifesaver or whatever.
Yeah.
Lifesaver.
Yeah, the lightsaber. Yeah. That's so funny.
Oh
I'm still
goodness,
laughing at
it's
that,
too funny.
See what a headache can do.
See, you know that Joanna's got kids.
Yeah,
God uses everything.
he does. He really does. Yeah.
Yep, he does. He definitely does. Although I love Star Wars. I'm a huge fan of Star Wars.
I am too. I grew up watching it, so yeah.
Yeah, me too. All the Star Wars. I
I think
remember
that
when
might have been one of the first movies I went to, like it actually in the theater.
Really?
Oh, wow.
I don't remember.
Star Wars.
Mine was E.T. I just remember because they ended up cutting off.
E.T., yes. E.T. That was probably one of my first ones too. I love E.T. Aw. Let's see. So Elaine says, what do you all do when you believe all the things and you know God is always with you, but your faith still wavers? How do you stay strong and in the word? Great question, Elaine.
Yeah, that's a good
Who
one.
wants to answer that?
Well, I can answer what God's been doing to me lately, or having, what he showed me, because I was asking, how do I get through this? How do I get through those times? Like even with the move, it's just so much stress going through all of that, having kids and, and just relying him on, that he would provide a place, get us through it and stuff. But at the same time, the stresses of just the actual move, and so, and just other things that have come up, even just this last year and a half. For me, it's been praising him for who he is, worshiping him and praising him, and getting in the word and just reminding, I guess, myself, my soul, my mind, and my heart who he is above all. And when I get into that place, he reminds me who I am in him. And that's what's made a huge difference, I think, in the last year and a half for me, is just reminding myself who he is, and then he reminds me who I am in him.
Yes. How about you, Alicia?
I fully agree. And when you were talking about how you just would remind yourself of what God has already done in the past, how he's provided and he's been with you. I do that too. And then I heard somebody say once that faith is trusting in the character of God. Because you can look back and see where you can see his hand, where he's moved and provided and protected. And then that is his character, that that's who he is. Like you said, that's who he is. And so and it also says that he doesn't change. And I don't know what reference that is. I don't remember the reference, but our word tells us that he doesn't change. And so if he's been like that before, he will continue to be who he is, provider, like you said, like Jireh, his name, Jireh, Jehovah Jireh, provider. Yeah. And so, I guess I look back too and just remind myself what he's done already, and that he's not going to change. And definitely just hanging on to his promises from his word, because, circumstances can change, our feelings can change, everything can change. But his word, it's not going to change either. So his character and his word, I just hang on to him.
Yeah. And I heard not too long ago, I was listening to somebody talk, and they were talking about how God's character is different in different seasons of our lives. Like he wants to show himself, as a different part of who he is in different seasons. And so one of the things they said was, ask God who he wants to show himself as to you in this season of your life.
Oh, that's good.
And I was like, whoa, that just kind of like, it was.
So say that again. Ask God
what character he wants to show you in this season of your life. Like what part of his character? Like, is it protector? Is it provider? Is it is it I don't know.
Father.
Like my God, like Adonai, does he want to be that personal, bring you close into him in a different way? There's just so many different names of him, Elroy, I'm here, he is here, that's, sometimes we need to know, I need to know you're here, Lord. I need to know you're here, and maybe, so different seasons bring out his different characters of who he is, and then remind us again who we are in him in that season, so.
That's awesome.
That is.
I love how you were also talking about identity, because I think that's important. Is when we, I think the praise and worship helps a lot to see who we are in Christ, and to see who our identity is, what our identity is in Christ, and that helps too. I think for us to stay strong, knowing who He really truly is. But I think the other thing for me and how I stay strong in the Word is creating art. Is just literally just I think just recently, and I realized this more too, even because of you, Joanna, because you've been kind of on a sabbatical, with the Lord, and just spending time and listening to Him, and which I would love for you to talk about that too. But like when I did that just for one day, it made a huge difference. And I think that it's so important that we all do that, even if it's for one day, no work whatsoever, just, one sabbatical day where you just spend time with the Lord, just you and Him, praying, writing, journaling, creating, and that's what I did. And I just felt so refreshed and so at peace. And I think that too will help you to stay strong and also want more of His word. Because I know for me, it gives me, it just gives me that desire to want more of Him.
Yeah.
So and even in the worshiping and praise too, you just want more of Him.
Yeah.
And that helps too, I think, for you to stay strong.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. That's really good. Yeah. Wow.
Bib said her phone keeps fading in and out, but she's enjoying us working together.
Oh, good.
She said, I'm enjoying y'all working together. So cute. So Elaine, I hope that helped a little bit. She said she's a big Star Wars fan too.
Yay!
But yeah, Joanna, share a little bit about that, about your sabbatical with the Lord.
Yeah, I think, it's not as extreme as it was at the beginning of like COVID and stuff, because, but I love like when he's trying to grow you in a certain way, or just even speak to you, like one of the things he was telling me was, before, was that my people need to slow down and need to quiet so they can hear me, and that was right before it started. And I was like confused. I was like, what do you mean? And then I just started looking at my world around me that I was in, and just seeing like things passing me by like crazy, and he's like, they can't hear me because they're too busy, and I'm like, okay, so then what do I need to do to stop and listen, and then like the world just stopped, and I was like, wow, and so it's kind of been a little bit more like over the last year and a half. It's just, so now that when he says, I need you to stop and do this, I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do? Just because I've, heard, when we stop to listen to him, he'll speak, and so one of the things that he asked me to do like a couple of weeks ago was, to pray, just pray, praise me and pray, for the people that are sick and for what's going on in the nations. And I'm like, okay, so that's what I did, and through that, it's just been more about worshiping him, praising him for who he is, and just saying, Lord, come, Lord, just come, release yourself among your people, release yourself in the nations, and just listening to him, his heart for what, I was reading Bill Johnson's book. I'm almost done with it. The Co-Creating with God, and part of it was talking about. Part of it was
it dreaming with God?
Yeah, dreaming with God. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how there's different parts, like 7 different parts in culture that God has to infiltrate in order for a culture to change. And so that's kind of what God's been talking to me too. It's like, pray for these things so that I can, and so it's just been like, it's just been fascinating. Like when you stop to have those times, not only is he going to talk to you about things in your life and help you in your life, but he's also going to give you a heart for other people, and help you to care for them and to love them like he loves them, and so that's like, I guess that's where he has me now is, I need you. So sometimes we have to turn off the news. We have to, turn off things that may redirect our thoughts away from what he is wanting us to listen to him put in our hearts,
Yeah.
So that was the big thing, is just stepping away and just, noticing what his heart is, and letting him give me the same heart as his, because I'm, I mess up. I do things that. So yeah, it's just focusing on him and his heart and what it is he's wanting to say during this time, and that's kind of what it's been for me this time, and also just kind of like directing me in a new path that I didn't know was a part of me. And people had told me before that, yeah, this is part of you, and I'm like, no, it's not. Like friends have told me, like, yeah, you're a prayer warrior. No, I'm not. You're this and that. No, I'm not. It is just like. 2 weeks ago when he said, stop and pray and do this, then I was like, oh, okay, I get it. You want me to pray, and you want me to pray for, so I get it now. I get that you're showing me new things. And so it's also a time for him to grow you in wherever path he's taking you down. That's the thing. Like, he has to change our hearts and our minds in order to take those down that path. We can't do it when we're constantly either going, or constantly letting other things into our minds and our hearts. That, that's why he says, guard your heart, and because the wellspring of life, and so, yeah, we can't, if we're constantly listening and doing, then we can't, completely hear everything that he's trying to
hear. That's right. Another thing that came to me when you were talking too was that when you're also spending time with the Lord, like you were, it also gives you opportunity to focus on other things, focus on others, as opposed to focusing on your own worries and concerns and burdens.
Yeah.
It takes away from that too.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
right. Yeah. And then not only that, but like in him doing that, like I see my family different too. I see my kids different. I see my husband different. I see just in my immediate surroundings differently, because God's joy, when you're doing what he gives you this joy, and then he gives, extends out to others, that are in your immediate vicinity, and so Yeah, it's amazing what happens when we make that time for him and listen to his heart. Yeah.
I've always thought you were a prayer warrior. I've always, when I first met you online, I've always loved listening to your prayers.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you definitely have a heart for praying, for sure. It just comes natural to you.
It's a learning process, that's for sure.
Let me see if there's any other questions. Does anybody else have any other questions? And if you are not on live with us, you guys can ask any questions afterwards. Just put it in the comments, and then between the three of us, we can always come back and just answer them for you. But it doesn't have to be done live. You can also ask afterwards. So Elaine just shared Mark 9:24 comes to mind where the person cries out what he believes, but Lord, help my unbelief. I think that is where I'm in my journey right now.
Yeah.
You're also inspiring and give me hope.
I love
You're
you.
an inspiration, Elaine.
Oh my goodness, yes.
That's sweet. Love it. Love it. But I'm so glad that you were able to jump on, Elaine. So it's already 30 minutes. Oh my God.
How did that happen?
I know, we could just keep talking and talking.
For sure.
I know that I know for you, Alicia, whenever you have fellowship with any of your friends and stuff, you're gone for hours.
Yeah.
I was. It turned out to be 3 hours this morning.
Oh my
Coffee
goodness.
with a group of friends. But you know what happened? 2 of them had to leave earlier, and that left me one-on-one with one of my good friends. And our conversation was different. It was just more personal, more, and so we had another hour of conversation with each other.
Nice. Awesome. That's cool. Well, next week we won't be here because we're actually going to be in Texas with Joanna. I'm so excited. Finally get to hug you.
I know.
So yes, we're going to be in Texas at a retreat with our mentor, Sarah Thurman. And some of you I know are going to be there as well, that we all get to hug and meet in person. So it's going to be exciting. So we won't be here next week, but we'll be here the following week again on Wednesday at 3:00 Eastern time, just to chat with you guys. And again, feel free to ask any questions that you guys have here in the comments, and we'll come back and answer them. And we'll see you guys again soon.
Yay.
Yay.
Thanks, ladies, for jumping on.
Yeah. Love you.
Yes. Nice
I
talking.
love you guys.
Bye. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.